All right. Hello, everyone. Hello. Hello. Okay. Court, let me know when you have joined. We're going to try this again. Okay, Court. For some reason, it's saying that you're unavailable to go live with me. So, hold on, Court. Yeah, it doesn't want you to go live with me. And we're friends for real. um, you know what I'm gonna do? Maybe if we do it from my other page, and then maybe if I share it on this page, it shouldn't matter. But for some reason, it doesn't want you. It's saying that you can't go. You're unavailable. Do me a favor on mine. If you click on my name, do you see the option to invite me on yours? I know I'm Courtney. I have to laugh and keep from crying. I don't know why I don't want us to be great today. When I click on your name, it just says that you can't go live with me right now. So it gives me the option to invite you, but it's saying that you can't go live with me. So let me see why it won't allow you. Let's see. So, yeah, I don't know, Court. I'm going to try this one more time. Yeah, it's so weird, right? Okay, now, there we go. Hold on, let's see. Hold on. It won't let me. It gives me the I can see your option, but when I go to add you, it won't let me add you. So I can so I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. Okay, so it looks like I approved it, but it's saying it's not getting an answer from you. So check on yours. Still not letting you? Like I can see some of the others, like I can add sent. It's telling me I can add her. Court, are you on your personal or your business page? For some reason, and then maybe take off. Are you on Wi-Fi, Court? If you're on Wi-Fi, take it off. And so let's try this, Court. Let's test it, you and I, from mine, and then let's see if that works. I'm not sure why, because it doesn't even give me the option. Oh, you don't see where you can join. So look under your, where you sent the invite request earlier. Try that one again. Did you change your Wi-Fi setting? Yes, I can see you sent it. It will allow me to add you. If for some reason it won't allow me to add Courtney, but I can send you an invitation. I don't, Court. Okay, so on my page, Court, I know you have liked it, but are you following it? Maybe that's the difference. Let me look on my page and see if that's the problem. Okay, let you try to do it from your phone instead of your iPad. Okay. And I'm going to sign into on my laptop, and let's see if I get better results that way. Okay. I got the last one. I didn't get the one after that. Did you do another one? Did you send over another one? And you sent that one from your phone? Okay. Let me see if I can do this from my laptop. It won't let us be great today. It must be real good. That's why the devil don't want us to talk, huh? That's why he don't want us to share with the people. Let's see. So Court, you may have to try to invite me from your page. Are you fine with that? He won't win. That's right. We're gonna figure this out. But look, between the two of us, we're gonna figure it right on out. Hello. Between us and the Holy Spirit, we're gonna have this thing figured right on out. Okay, so I'll sign off from here. Well, let me just see real quick on mine. Okay, so I'm gonna sign off from here, and then we'll try it from your page. Yeah, you can start a live and see if you can add me. That's fine. Oh, well, hold on, Court. Well, nope. See, now it. Ah, okay. Here we go. Wait, did it do it that time? I think it's adding you, Court.
Hold on. Okay.
When
Okay, here we
when
go.
you
I was like, what in the world is happening?
listen, when you bring the Holy Spirit in it,
Okay.
okay, He's gonna work it on out. Listen,
That's right.
and I don't know why it was a delay, Court. I don't know what that was
That
about.
is so strange. I don't know. That was so weird. And I mean, I'm on my phone and hold on.
Uh-huh.
Am I sideways?
A little bit. We,
Okay. All right. So let me
that's
go
good.
back this way.
Yeah.
This is better. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's so much easier for me to do things from my iPad because I have a little keyboard attached, so
Yeah.
it's really like a laptop.
Yeah.
But anywho, I'm glad we got this.
I know. I'm so excited. Hold on. I'm gonna tag Cynthia.
Okay.
Okay.
Let
She's
me see. I'm trying to figure out how I can record this, but I might not be able to do that just because of how.
well, I'll save
I want.
it on my page.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm sure you can be able to take the link. I don't know, something.
Yeah. Maybe download it.
Yeah.
We'll be able to do something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
now that we have Court on,
Yes.
Court is my friend for real, in real life, y'all. So
That's
I'm
right.
hyped to have Courtney onto my page. So some of you are joining from my page, and then some of you are joining from Courtney's page. Your friends on, or maybe friends of mutual of both of our pages. So I'm going to give you a quick intro to who I am, and then I'm going to allow Courtney to give an intro to who she is, and then we're just going to jump right into it. Hey, Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
So my name is Curticia Velasquez, and I am a few things. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I am a new transitioning entrepreneur. During the day, I'm a trainer in the customer service field, and by night, I'm a personal development coach, specifically for women. So basically, as a personal development coach, I help women to overcome personal obstacles to improve their quality of life and improve their personal growth. So I love it. I am certified, so I'm certified as a life coach, but I go by the title of personal development. Anyway, so we have been talking about Courtney dreams, the dream series. And so for the month of July, I've been covering different things around what can kill our dreams. And so I came across this interesting statistic that said, I think it was 97% of Americans have dreams to be a book writer, to publish a book, to be an author. But like 3% of them actually publish a book. 3% actually, follow through with that dream. And so I think for you, especially being a life coach, being an entrepreneur, Now being an author, you know, and having your other things, you know, being a fiance. Hey, can we talk about it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It's busy. And so I wanted to kind of share with my viewers and your viewers, like, what was that process like? And because that was a dream of yours that has come
Right.
to fruition. And so I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to kind of talk about that journey and what that looked like for you, the ups and downs. What would you want people to know about that to help them
Mm-hmm.
as they are, you know, wanting to look into writing a book of their own? And I titled this Three Things because as we were prepping for this, I asked Courtney kind of what would she say the hardest part of writing a book would be. And in her response to me, there was three main things that stood out to me. And so that's why I titled it that way. But I want Courtney to just kind of introduce herself to you all, and for those of you who will be watching the replay, and then we can kind of go deeper. This is interesting because we are two coaches talking, so I'm
Yes.
gonna try not to coach.
No, this is great. Like I'm so excited to be on this with you. Like this is so great. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
And so thank you. I want to thank you first of all for just inviting me to join you on this because I'm super excited.
Uh,
So, and it's funny, I don't know if your viewers know or whatever, but like Kurtish and I went to high school together and like we were always cool in school. And life just had it to where it just came full circle, and we ended up meeting up at Walmart one night and just talking about coaching, and ended up in the same coaching program, being coaching peers with each other, and like it's just amazing how God brings things full circle.
and we
So
got our
um,
certification together, and
yeah,
that
we
was
did.
fun.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it was. It was. So I'm just so excited to be here. But for everybody who's watching, I'm Courtney DeBose. I am a flight attendant by day. And then I have my business, which is called Unique by Design Global Empowerment. And like I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, a business person, but I've always wanted to have something else too. So I'm just so excited that God is such a prayer answering God, because I can remember when I was maybe kind of fresh out of college, I had written in a
Hey,
journal
Candace.
of mine that said, Lord, I really want to have a job that will free me up to be able to work on my business and build my business and build my brand on the side. And that's been years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But to see it coming to fruition, it's just like, wow, God is so amazing. And He really listens to us. And um, just in talking about my book, I can't believe
Like we're
I
really
don't want to say
saying,
I can't
look,
believe it,
yes,
but
so
I'm
excited.
like, I'm an author. I am a published author. Courtney DeBose, a published author. And I'm just like, you know, God just never ceases to amaze me. And um, so just a little bit, I guess, about the process. Do you want me to start?
Yes.
Can I start
So
there?
how
Or,
did that
okay.
come up? Like where did this dream of writing a book, like where did that start? Where did that conception start?
Right. So I've always just loved to write. I've had journals since I was younger, and I was always good at writing papers in school. I've got my master's degree, and so like even though writing it became a little overwhelming in school
Mhm.
because all the research and all that you have to do, but I enjoyed doing it, and I always got good grades on my papers. So I just always loved to write, and to be honest. Um, I've always felt as though I communicate better in writing.
Mhm. Yeah,
For some reason, I
yeah,
don't know what that's about,
yeah,
but when I can just sit down and take the time to write out my
yeah.
thoughts, it's so different for me than, standing up in front of people and, giving a motivational talk or something
Yeah.
like that. It's just always been easier for me to write my thoughts, and I can communicate my thoughts that way so much
Yeah.
better. Yeah, so but I've always wanted to write a book since I was younger. I can't remember. Maybe college, maybe in my undergraduate experience was when it really, I was like, with all the experiences that I've had and all the lessons that, God is teaching me on my journey of life, like I can really write about this. And I've always loved to just encourage people and just really help people reach their full potential. Like that's always been a deep rooted purpose of mine and passion. Like I really just love to motivate people and inspire people and encourage them and empower them to just
Yeah.
keep going
Yeah.
on your journey. Like no matter how hard it gets, like you keep your hand in God's hand, like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So it's always been something that I've been passionate about, just helping people reach their full potential.
Yeah. So it sounds like to me that dream, number one, like you said, was a passion of yours. But even more, it sounds like you were in touch with your purpose. And so
Yes.
that writing the book married well with your purpose.
Yes.
And I think that's key, because I think a lot of times people have this aspiration, if that's the right word, to write a book, but we haven't yet identified, number one, our purpose, and number two, the why. I think
Oh,
you have
that's
to have
good.
a
Yeah.
why in order
Yeah.
to stay consistent with what it is that you are setting out to do. Now, I didn't go like
Right.
real in detail as far as the 3% why they don't finish that book, but I would come to the assumption that part of that is not being in touch with the why, because sometimes it's like, oh, it sounds good to write a book, right? It sounds good to be an author. Like that sounds good. But
Right.
putting in the work, being consistent with that drive can only come from you knowing your purpose, your identity, and having a
Yes.
why before you that keeps you
Yes.
consistent. So what was that like? Because I know for you, one of the things that you shared with me was the consistency was a big thing for you. And I think that's important
Yes.
to talk about, because sometimes when we hear consistency, we think, oh, well, you should just automatically wake up consistent. And
Right.
not per se. Consistency doesn't necessarily mean that you wake up every day off the gate being consistent. I think it's a
Right.
behavior that you learn and a discipline that you develop over time.
Yes.
So what
Yes.
was that particular journey like for you?
Yeah, so first I want to go back and say it's so important too to know your area of gifting and what it is that your purpose is, right? So for me, like I think I struggled in the beginning with figuring out, okay, what would a book authored by me look like? Like I know that I need to write a book, I know that I want to write a book, but what will it look like? Because for me, I've never been a great storyteller. Like so I'm
That's
like, okay,
interesting.
if I'm not a good storyteller, like how would I formulate a book that's like outlining my life lessons and all of that? And I thought at first, I'm like, okay, sometimes books are thick. I'm trying to look around and look for a thick book. But, a lot of times I'm thinking that my book is going to look like this. It's going to be like really long,
Yeah.
and it's just going to be the story of my life. But I was like, you know what? What helps me is just taking things day by day, moment by moment, in snippets.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I learned
Yeah.
best. And I started a blog in 2015, and I kind of knew that was going to be like the gateway for something bigger. But so when I really started to do the work, and that's so interesting that you use that term, the work, because I really started to do the work
Right.
around my book, around getting the book done.
Yeah.
And when I did start doing the work, I was like, you know what? I don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Mhm.
I've already got my blog. And what I did on my blog site was my blogs were just like short, whatever God decided to teach me in a certain circumstance.
Right.
It wasn't anything long and drawn out. It was just straight to the point. This is what happened, and this is what I learned from it,
Right.
and this is what you can take from my experience, and you can take it on your journey too. So I was like, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. If that's what I'm good at, if I'm good at writing those little short stories to say, hey, this is a circumstance, this is what God showed me in it, and this is what I learned from it, that can be a book.
Yes.
Like, that's a devotional,
And I
you know
and I think that's key that you said that, right? Because I think sometimes we like to box ourselves in, and we feel like that it has to look one particular way because it has always looked this way. And so
Right.
identifying, uh, no pun intended, but pun intended, your unique self, right? And your unique
Yes.
style of writing or whatever that is
Mm-hmm.
for you is key. And so I love the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you said, number one, I had to ask within myself, this is something that I know I want to do, but what does that look
Mm-hmm.
like for me? Because I think that's a good first step. And first of all, when you start outlining your plan of action, your goal, you need to have
Mm-hmm.
something in mind. And so one thing I remember, from other conversations that we had is not only about
Mm-hmm.
your kind of outline of what you wanted your book to look like, because as you said, you don't feel that you are a storyteller, but that doesn't mean that you cannot write a book if that's what you do,
Right.
because there's different writing styles. But I remember you saying that you had a rough draft copy of what the front page of your book would look like. So
Yes.
how did
Yes.
that
And I'm
play
glad that
into
you
your
brought
why?
that up. Yeah. So, that's going back to the work, doing the work. Um, I had signed up for this life coaching program when I was going through a really, really tough time. And I can really attribute that tough time to, the birthing of this book here. Because it just really made me sit with God and be like, okay, I need something different. I need a new and I need a different experience in my life. And I literally, through that coaching program, started to do the work. I did the work spiritually first. And a lot of times we don't understand that we have to see it in our minds. We have to see what we want in our minds before it can manifest itself physically, right? So I'm telling I brought these notebooks to show you, like, this is a notebook full of me just doing the work.
Yeah.
This says the work, my book. So I literally got up morning after morning, day after day, and I was like, my devotional is complete. And I just wrote lines and lines and lines. Can you see that?
I can.
All this says on these 2 pages is my devotional is complete. And like these notebooks I have, they're full of what I wanted to manifest. And so, I just did the work spiritually, and I took a book that I already had. It was my Mary Kay book, because I'm an independent Mary Kay beauty consultant, right? But again, even with that, at some point in that journey through Mary Kay, God was like, "Yeah, that's cool, but you need to build your business. Like, Mary Kay can be your business, but you need to build your
Yeah.
business, your brand. Mary Kay is already a brand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You need to build unique by design. You need to build what I gave you to birth." So I took my Mary Kay book that I got, and I took a sheet of copy paper, and I made my own little title. You probably can't see it; it's
Yeah.
all wrinkled or whatever. But I drew a butterfly. I drew wanted the cover of my book to look like. And I literally had this in a space in my room where I have all my notebooks and everything, and I have a box of prayers and all of that. And it's a mirror there, so I can look at myself and I can say, I can do this. My book is complete. I'm looking at myself and saying that to myself, and I have this in that area.
Yeah.
And just day after day, it was a tool I used to help me bring this to fruition. So this is
Yeah.
the book I made up, and now to have this, this is my book. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this stuff, like, reaping what you sow, and how God says, write the vision and make it plain. I made it plain.
Yeah.
I made it plain, and I made it a tool so I could have it in my hand before it was actually in my hand. And that's what you have to
Now
do.
see, Court, now you preaching. You preaching on you.
Okay? Come
Now
on, Holy Spirit.
come on now. Now, number one, what I hear with that, as far as the 3 steps, number one, you had already identified your purpose, but
Mm-hmm.
not more importantly, but in addition to that, you identified your why. You you
Mm-hmm.
knew why you were doing it. And I think that's important to reiterate, because sometimes we are just out here being busy, keeping ourselves busy,
Yes.
but we don't have really any significance that's really tied to that in the sense of purpose. And I think that
Yes.
have a when you have an understanding of your purpose, and
Mm-hmm.
you keep your purpose and you are moving in your purpose, then that makes
Mm-hmm.
your why even more impactful. So you won't
Yes.
just give up on the why when you know the impact of that why as it relates to your
Yes.
purpose. And so I
Yes.
think a lot of people, it sounds good to write a book because, oh, I want to be an
Mm-hmm.
author, but it really doesn't have any other purpose other than it looking good. It's just, it looks good to have author behind your name. So I think you have to
Right.
identify as your first step, why am I wanting to write a book? What impact
Mm-hmm.
am I, trying, what footprint am I trying to leave in the earth
Yes.
by me doing this? So I think it's important that you have that why. And I think
Mm-hmm.
you have really reiterated that even more to the point of understanding why that was so important. Because if it wasn't something that was purposeful or impactful to you, then let's just be honest, you probably wouldn't have already had your book, right,
Yep.
drawn out using notebook paper if you didn't understand the significance behind your why. Because I'm not
Yes.
going to take the time and really think about and draft out, number one, what would this book look like for me? What do I want my cover? Like, those are all the things, and to me, that are pouring into you thinking about my why. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
important as it relates to the next point, which is the consistency, right? Because when
Mm-hmm.
we know why we are doing something, then it makes it a little bit easier for us to want to stay consistent. Like, there has to be a
Yes.
certain level of internal accountability. And
Yes.
nothing is more, um, nothing holds you more accountable than understanding your why and understanding how that why ties to your purpose. So
Yes.
I'm trying to take you all on a journey with me, right? So I need to first identify my purpose, understand
Mm-hmm.
that. That doesn't mean I have to have everything figured out, because sometimes we get more understanding of our purpose as we move our steps, right?
Yes.
Or move our feet, right? But you have a understanding of some sort of what your purpose is and what you are called to do. And so then you understand how writing this book serves the purpose that is on your life. So you have to have a why.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's why is going to be different because we have when I started the purpose series, probably in
Mm-hmm.
August, we all have a
Mm-hmm.
common purpose, right? But then we each have unique assignments that tie back to that common purpose. And so
Yes.
what I'm hearing for you, writing that book tied back to that. But I think when you have that internal accountability that says, this
Mm-hmm.
isn't about me, this vision that God has given me is tied to so many other people. There are so many other
Yes.
people who need this 21 days of encouragement for your unique journey. They need this devotion. They need a Courtney who writes it in a particular way, right? They need what you have to offer, and you're keeping that ahead of you. Then that puts
Yes.
of internal accountability that only a why can do. And that internal accountability kind of holds you consistent on the inside to say, okay, well, I'm slipping off. I need to get back more consistent. So what did
Mm-hmm.
that consistency start off like versus
Mm-hmm.
like how did that develop over time?
Okay. So I had I had a blank document on my computer for I can't tell you how many years, maybe 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and all it said was UBD, the book, and that's all I had.
Wow.
And I would open that document so many times, and I would go to type something, and it's just like I didn't know what to type.
Wow.
I didn't know what to type. The words didn't come to me, like nothing. And that happened time after time after time. And um I mean, if I to be authentic and honest and open,
Mm-hmm.
I think um when I went through a period of time where I was just down in the dumps, and I had started counseling
Yeah.
and the life coaching and all of that, like, I was at a point where I just didn't know like what to do. And God brought this book back to me. And when I started to get better, and when I started looking at, I thought about my website and how I had the blog and how it was just day by day, things that God was teaching me on my journey day by day.
I'm not
And
crying, you guys.
these
My eyes is
notebooks,
watering.
going through these notebooks and just looking and seeing, okay, day by day.
Yeah.
It's day by day, day by day. The journey is day by day, step by step, moment by moment. And that's how we get through life.
You know what?
It's a step by step journey. It's a process. It's a process. And I said, you know what? Just how I took this time to go day by day and just evolve day by day into the woman that I know that I'm supposed to be. I said, you know what? Other people need to know that it's a day by day. 21 days, it's day by day, and you got to do it over and over and over and over and over until you manifest that which God has purposed you to do.
Yeah. And I think that's key because I think when we think about consistency, right, you feel like you have to wake up. So today I say, you know what, Katisha, I want to be more consistent. So now I put pressure on tomorrow to have every I dotted and every T crossed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And consistency, like discipline, takes time. And so
Time.
when you talked about the small, it's like, okay, this is where I'm not being consistent in. Let's say, for example, for you, let's say it was just taking the time out to actually write. So you have all
Mm-hmm.
up here, but I need to set aside some time to actually take what I have up here and put it,
Mm-hmm.
on paper. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying, I'm going to do this every day I'm going to write, right? Instead of doing that, just say, okay, well, you know what? I can't commit to doing it every day, but I can
Mm-hmm.
commit to, once a week for 30
Right.
minutes. And then stay
Yes.
consistent with writing once a week for 30
Mm-hmm.
minutes over a
Mm-hmm.
period of time. And then
Yes.
once you get that, then you can start to add more on your plate. And before you know
Mm-hmm.
it, not only are you becoming more disciplined, but you are also now
Mm-hmm.
becoming more consistent. Because I think sometimes you get
Yes.
overwhelmed. I've never written a book, but I would imagine that that's a big undertaking.
It was
You know?
daunting some days. I just did it daunting. It was like on me like a burden, and like, and it was as you're talking, I'm thinking about how one week I might have written maybe three days out of the 21, you know what I'm saying? But then it would be several weeks that went by that I wasn't, like, I got writer's block, or that it just wasn't coming to me.
Right.
And it was frustrating in those times, but I was just like, you know what, I gotta keep going, so whenever I was feeling it, or whenever the words were coming to me, then I would write. But there were times where it was just like nothing was coming to me. And I'm like, okay, I know I got to do this. So really, that consistency, it's a discipline.
Mm-hmm. It's a discipline for sure, because you have to take that time. And I think that's a part of anything, any dream, no matter how big or how small. Sometimes you can easily become overwhelmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our intentions are good. We want to be consistent, but we have to start small. The Bible talks about
Yes.
don't despise small beginnings.
All
And I
beginnings.
think sometimes
Yes.
we look at that for like, just the more common things, but in these type of things where it's I need to be more consistent, right? Taking
Mm-hmm.
that, I call it chunks. So taking it into
Yes.
chunks and then become consistent in the smaller things, and that
Mm-hmm.
eventually will birth the bigger thing. I think that's essential, in regards to seeing any dream come to fruition, specifically writing a book. There has to be a
Yeah.
level of consistency and discipline in order to finish, a book and publishing a book, and even just taking the time to look at, okay, these are the things that I have to do that I need to get
Mm-hmm.
accomplished, right? And then taking time out to say, okay, where is my starting place for this? So I have 10 things that I need to complete as far as tasks in order to get this book published. But I'm not going to
Yeah.
focus every day on trying to be consistent and doing everything every day for those 10 things. I'm going to pull one, the most important one, identifying your starting
Yes.
place, being consistent and building. And these are things that Courtney knows and I know, as coaches, when you have clients, that you help them to identify so that their goal can be accomplished, whatever that is, right?
Yes.
So I think that's key. And then the next one, so we talked about identifying and keeping your why before you, being
Mm-hmm.
consistent and doing the work, right? And then one thing that I definitely wanted to talk about, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, you brought up being the fear. What was that? We'll talk about that fear.
Yeah. So, and I can tell you, like, I've struggled with fear for years. I'm talking about, like, I remember in college when because I was the class queen of my freshman class, and I was the class queen of my junior class, and then I became the queen of my university, Winston-Salem State. And I can tell you, um, my advisor and my spiritual mentor, like, she was so instrumental in my growth there. And one of the things that she could pick up on was that I had a fearful spirit. Like getting up in front of people is like, oh my gosh. Like, you know, it's and I know you and I have talked about this before too, just having that image kind of thing, and you feel like you got to be perfect and all that, you got to be have it all together and all of that. So it's always a fear of, you know, okay, what is this person going to think of me? You know, so in terms of my book, I'm like, okay, are people going to read it? Like, are they going to like it?
How is this
Like,
going to be
am I really
received?
doing, yeah, how's it going to be received? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? You know, we start to question, is this really my assignment? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And so yeah, it was just a lot of things, you know, that the enemy would try to whisper, like, you know, are you really supposed to, just how he did Eve in the garden? Are you really, did he really say that? Did he really say write a book? Did he really say this? You know, can you really accomplish that? Because I don't know, nobody else in my family that I can think of has ever written a book. So it's just like, you know, so, you know, that's scary. Even that can be a little scary sometimes. You know, I'm the first one to do this that I know of, you know. So, so yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot that came to me in the process. And I think going back to the purpose and the passion and knowing that I have the gift of exhortation. Like I have that gift of encouraging people like when times get hard, and I have that gift of intercession and everything. So just going back and focusing on that rather than the fear.
Yeah.
You got to push past fear. You got to tell fear where to go, man, cuz it can be so whew,
That's now you said a mouthful there, Courtney, because sometimes I think everyone, and I think this is sometimes a thing that we have kind of made seem like is the one-off. Let me elaborate what I mean there. Everyone has fear. Everyone has dealt with or will deal with fear in some form, shape, or fashion. If you are human, you are going to, at some point in your life, encounter a certain level of fear, right? But when we think, and fear, you mentioned this, can kind of birth doubt. Can I do this? Am I equipped to do this?
Yes.
It starts to birth all of these other things. And so I wanted to ask you, because you talked about being an encourager, right? How did you keep yourself encouraged through that fear? Because I think sometimes we lean on other people to pat us on, to pat us on the back. And there's nothing wrong with having encouraging people around you, but sometimes you find yourself, you are the encourager, and now you have this goal that you are fearful on, and you may not have that resource in other people to encourage you. So how did you find the encouragement within yourself to move past the fear?
Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. I can say God is always on time. And in those moments, and I've always had a really strong and sound support system. Like my parents are awesome, my brother's awesome. Like I've just always had really great support, and I do think that is so important for anybody. You got to know who your true supporters are. But you know, I think what really helped me was in those times when I needed some encouragement, I might get a message from somebody, you know, I might get a random message from somebody, or my mom or my dad might say something to encourage me, and then just standing on God's word and really spending time, you know, understanding that, okay, you're gonna persevere. You can persevere. You got this. Like, you can do this. This is something that you desire. This is something that you spoke, that you wanted. So it's gonna come to pass. So just really standing on God's word, and then just like I said, God is just so on time. He's so on
Mm-hmm.
time with everything. So He'll send a timely word through somebody I know, or it just,
Because
everything just happens on time.
yeah, because I think when we think about fear, and even when I speak of myself in areas of my life that I've suffered or had fear, right? I think it's
Mm-hmm.
important that you know how to seek encouragement on your own, right?
Yes.
And I do think that there's a certain level of encouragement that you have to have within yourself that other people can't necessarily provide to you. And so that
Mm-hmm.
source of encouragement may vary. For us Christians, we find it through the Word of God, right?
Yes.
But for whatever that source is of where you find it, I think those are the times that you glean, onto those things. Whether that,
Mm-hmm.
you finding, something, a story, so like a practical thing that you could do. If you are suffering and
Mm-hmm.
you're saying, you know what, I'm scared of what other people are gonna think. If I tell my story, let's just say that,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
maybe finding someone who has told their story, right? Someone who was successful in that. Like when I think about that, I think about an Oprah. Everyone knows
Yeah.
the background that Oprah had and the tragedies and stuff that she dealt with, right? But
Right.
looking at her
Right.
success encourages me because I'm sure that
Mm-hmm.
Oprah was fearful around her coming out and telling some of the things that she endured, on how people
Mm-hmm.
were going to receive that, what would they think about her, or whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
may be. But for me, now that an Oprah has, already kind of came before and set that way, then I glean encouragement from that. Like, you know what? I know that this thought came up and said that, I'm not going to be able to do it, or that they're not going to receive what I have to say well, or they won't like my book. But you know what?
Mm-hmm.
They like Oprah's. So there's the possibility that they're going to like mine too, right?
Right.
And that's not something I have to reach out to Courtney or someone else and say, hey, that's something that I have at my fingertips. So I think you have to
Right.
find your source of encouragement within yourself
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
around you to kind of help you through that fear that you may be encountering. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
fear can be from different things. It can be, a lot of people have a fear of success. You talked about a little bit of that fear of failure. Well, what if and failure is very subjective on how you define failure, because how you say
Exactly.
failure could be different to someone else. But
Mm-hmm.
some people have the fear of failure. Some people have the fear of success. Some people have the fear of, you know what, I'm pioneering something that hasn't ever been done. The book that,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen anything like it. It's just the
Mm-hmm.
fact of I'm going to be stepping out and doing something that no one else has done can be, fearful. But I
Yeah.
think that it's important for, those watching and that will watch to know that just because you have fear, you don't have to be stuck in fear. But
Right.
how you move out of that fear is really, whether or not you move out of it is totally up to you. But if you
Mm-hmm.
want to move out of it, finding a source of encouragement to help you through that fear, I think is a great starting place to help you
Mm-hmm.
move through. And that goes back to that why, when you have
Yes.
your why in front of you, I
Mm-hmm.
think you find encouragement even in your own why. And maybe that means
Mm-hmm.
that every time, and I know for me, being a person who used to suffer from anxiety really bad and even
Mm-hmm.
depression, I've learned that when those thoughts of fear come into play, I have to identify
the truth. And then I have to literally speak that truth. And sometimes you have to speak that thing out loud. You know, we like to just say it in our head, but sometimes you have to literally say it out loud and speak to the
Yeah.
thing, you know, and send it back where it came from. So everyone who may not be watching may not be Christians, right? A lot of people who are not Christians, and even Christians, so I'm not, it's not a jab, but a lot of people, especially who are not Christians, may say, well, you know, it's affirmations. And Christians say that too, but being a Christian sometimes is deeper than a positive affirmation. It's a truth, that a
Yes.
certain knowing
Yes.
that I have within myself. But
Yes.
if that's not your belief system, or you know, your belief factor or your faith factor, whatever you want to call it, then going back and finding those positive affirmations to counter that fear that you are now facing, I think really kind of helps you through that process, because that's got to be
Yeah,
scary.
absolutely. Yeah, and as you're talking, I'm thinking about this book that I had this book that my dad got me years and years ago. It's called The 4-8 Principles
Mm,
by Tommy Newberry, and it's based off of Philippians 4:8.
that's
Um,
good. I'm writing that down.
but yeah, it talks about how we're really only created to think about one thing at a time. So, when we're talking about, replacing your fear with a positive affirmation, like you have to replace a negative thought with a positive one. It's like you can't just brush it off and, say, okay, I'm not going to think about that anymore. You literally have to replace whatever negative thought, whatever fear, doubt, whatever that negativity is, you have to literally replace it with a positive thought, because we are only designed to think about one thing at a time.
You know what that brought me to? I'm gonna see if I can find that real quick. It makes me think about the scripture that talks about um only focusing on today, because tomorrow has enough troubles of
Yes.
its own. And
Yes.
that's what my mind went to when we think about that fear, because sometimes that fear comes into play of us of us getting overwhelmed. I got all of these things to do. Am I really going to be able to get it done? Or I'm not going to be able to get it done. Well, if you don't get it done, what they're going to think? What are they going to say? And it's like one thing kind of spirals into another.
Yes.
And I think that's key too. And I know that from overcoming anxiety is you focus on the one thought at a time, addressing that one thought at a time, and finding the truth. So for
Yeah.
me, for example, if I felt like, you know what, um, you can't do that. You won't be able to pioneer this, right? Then I have to say, well, no, that's a lie, because my daddy God is the most creative person ever, and his creativity flows through me, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
or if I feel like, you know what, that's too hard for you, then I'll tell myself, you know what, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You know, what's with men, there are things that are impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Like I have to literally speak those things over myself, and you have to speak those things over yourself. And so I think that that's important when we talk about these three keys of what you need to know when you are trying to write a book, is the identifying your purpose and your why, and then, you know, developing habits to become more consistent and disciplined, and then addressing the fear with truth. I think those are really like super, you know, important when we think about this journey. And
Yes.
so I think, Courtney, we should probably tell everyone kind of where they can find your book. Are there any questions from anyone who may be watching? I think I see Mr. Kenneth watching. I think Cynthia was on. Does anyone have any questions for Courtney or myself? And if you are watching the replay and you have any questions, you can type in your question. And if it's directed at Courtney, I'll tag her so that she can respond to it. But does anyone have any questions? So Courtney, I think one thing that I wanted to talk about before we go into how everyone can find your live, how everyone can find your book. I looked up this scripture. Actually, I didn't look up the scripture. Right now, I'm studying the book of Proverbs. And I came across these two passages, these scriptures, and I think it's key. The first one says, and this is in NLT, it's Proverbs 13:12. It says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. So it's like when we have dreams that we do not accomplish, there's always, and I'm talking about those purpose dreams, those God-given dreams. I'm not talking about the dreams that God didn't give us. I'm talking about those things that He put on the inside of us. I think to a degree, when we don't accomplish those things, until those things are met, there's always this hunger there's this void for things. That's where when I read that scripture, I think about the heart being sick. The heart is yearning for those things. But a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. And I think that segues into, what we're talking about. But when you have that purpose, when you have an understanding of what your purpose is, and when you have your why set before you, and you actually accomplish those things that God has destined for you to do, then now that accomplishment, that fulfillment now becomes this tree of life to so many others. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like when I think about this big oak tree that sits in front of our building, this oak serves so many different purposes. Someone planted a seed, it grew, and now it has so many different purposes. It's shade, it's food for some, it's a house for some of the animals, it's shelter for some, it's food because it gives off these acorns for others, it's a house for the birds. When the leaves fall off of the limbs, it now becomes a fertilizer for the soil, right? And so when I think about our dreams as people, sometimes we really don't understand the significance behind us actually following through with those God-given dreams, because now it becomes a tree of life to so many other people, so many other people who, are in a sense locked up until you actually fulfill that dream that God has given you. One thing that keeps me going is understanding that it's bigger than me, and someone's deliverance may be tied up into me actually fulfilling the thing that God has set out for me to do. And so when I read that scripture, it just resonated. Will there be things that you're going to have to sacrifice? Absolutely. So that may mean there are late nights, when you may have gotten off of a flight that you had to stay up to write. There were times where, you may have had to map out a plan to say, you know what, this is my only day off, but I need to go get that, I don't know, EIN or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
You were with me during some of those things.
Yeah, so, but you know what I mean? It's sacrifice, but the temporary sacrifice is worth the actual result of seeing that thing actually come to pass. So tell the
Yeah.
people, where can they get your book? What is, and I said this at the beginning of our live, but this is Courtney's book. It is the 21 Days of Encouragement for Your Unique Journey. And I have read Courtney's book. I bought the ebook. I bought two of these. I gave them out as giveaways, and I have an extra one because I like to journal, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
good because it's almost like a snippet into your journal, into
Yeah.
the conversation that you or the conversations that you have had with God in your own quiet time. It's like
Yes.
you're inviting us into that time. And so I really do. I love it. Courtney's my friend for real, but her book is really good for real, right? So where can they find your book?
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to hold back right now because okay, you can get my book on my
Let the
website.
look, as
which
they
is
say, let the Lord use you.
yeah, so you can purchase my book on my website, and I'll autograph it for you. My website is www.uniquebydesign.com, and the Unique by Design is spelled UNIIKBYDESIGN. So that's uniquebydesign.com. And you can also, and what I'll do in the comment section
Oh, I'm there. I'm
after we
putting
get
it
off
there
this.
for you.
Oh, okay, well, yeah, so that you can get it from my website. Now I'll autograph it for you, but you could also purchase it directly from the printing company, which is in California. They'll print it and ship it for you directly from them as well, and we'll provide the link for that too. But oh my gosh, like as you were talking about that oak tree and just how it provides so much, and it was just that from that one seed. I can remember it was this associate minister at my old church, Minister Simmons. uh he was like a spiritual father to me, and I'm getting emotional because he's not here
Yeah,
to see this,
yeah,
and he is probably one of the people in my life who said to me on multiple occasions, there are people waiting on you.
yeah,
And so for anybody who's watching this live, for anybody who's watching the replay, people are waiting on you to do what God has purposed you to do. And so whatever distractions the enemy tries to throw your way, send them back to where they came from, and keep putting one foot in front of the other and get it done. Because people are waiting on you.
yeah,
I can't tell you, like in the last, I'm overwhelmed by the support that I've been getting from people purchasing the book. I just want to say thank you, and thank you for inviting me to do this, because this has been awesome. But just to have people text me and say, I read it all in one sitting, and then I'm going to go back and, do it like it's supposed to be done. Like I had somebody text me the other day and say, oh my gosh, this is just what I needed today. I needed to hear this today. And so,
yeah, yeah,
I'm overwhelmed, and I'm grateful, and I'm so grateful
yeah.
that God is faithful and he's gracious, and through everything he just walks with us.
Yeah. Because, I think
Yeah.
sometimes when we think about those distractions that you were talking about, and just the if I can do it, two things that come to my mind there is number one, a thief doesn't come to rob an empty home. So, sometimes we get that resistance. Hi, Toya. Sometimes we get that resistance, right? Because the thief knows that what you have to offer is a threat to him, right?
Oh my goodness.
Because
Yes.
if he can cut down that oak tree that we were talking about earlier, then look at all the other things that are now left out there dependent. And so I think when we think about our dreams, when we don't really take seriously those God-given dreams and we just let them fall by the wayside, someone is waiting on you to do what God has called you to do. Because you are in your dream, in the fulfillment of your dream, lies their shelter, lies their food, right? Lies the that fertilization of the soil, which now serves so many. You think about the soil and how soil is tracked and the birds pick it up from here and they drop it off to here. And when you think about that, you
Yes.
understand that it's bigger than you, then all of that work now becomes worth it. But I also think that should be a source when we were talking about that encouragement earlier. That should be a source of encouragement for you, to say, you know what? Listen, people are depending, and I'm not talking about in a boastful way. I'm not saying you say that to be boastful, but to understand that what God has given me is so powerful that the enemy doesn't want that to come to fruition. It encourages me and motivates me to want to do it even the more. And it's a sign, the resentment is a sign that you're on the right track, that you're on the right path. Because if you're not out here doing anything, you're not going to get. See, you should be worried when you don't have any resentment. My mom used to always tell me, if everybody likes you, because the resentment, sometimes we look at, I don't want any resentment. I don't want any conflict. I don't want any pushback. I don't want any fear, right? But those things sometimes can be a sign that you are actually on the right track of doing what God has purposed you to do. And so that's why I talk about, that finding that encouragement within, I think that's super important. But I think to recap, if we keep, number one, if you are wanting to write a book, for those of you who are joining right now, if you are wanting to write a book, we talked about the first thing is you need to know your why. You need to identify and know your why. And for us, that starts back to knowing our purpose. What have we been purposed to do? And what does writing this book, how does that serve that purpose, right? Because we are purposeful people. We want to operate in purpose. So identify your why and understand how that ties back to your purpose. Because if you know that, that's a foundation for step number 2, which is doing the work and becoming consistent. And we talked about that consistency. Start in small steps. Don't expect overnight to just be consistent in everything, but start in chunks. Make an outline and then determine how can you be consistent with the smaller things in chunks so that you don't become overwhelmed, and that will cause you to want to give up even more. And then the last one that we talked about was you have to find your source of encouragement from within to deal with the fear. Because fear is going to come, whether that's the fear of how will my audience receive my book or whatever your dream is? How am I able to do this? Or that fear of failure, that fear of success, because a lot of us, we have this fear of being successful, right? You have to find that sense of that source of encouragement. And then for us as Christians, that comes from the Bible first and foremost. And so we identify scriptures that counter that fear. And if you are not a Christian, then, just finding those positive affirmations, right, is something that you can do. And remember this scripture, Proverbs 13:12, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. So understanding that your dream fulfilled is now a tree of life to all the people who are waiting on you to do
Yes.
what God has called you to do. For all of those people who are waiting to see what God has purposed you to do, to see you walk and move in that purpose. You fulfilling your God-given dreams is a tree of life to so many other people. And we were closing by, I was telling Courtney about this oak tree that's in front of my building. The oak tree, number one, started with a seed. So don't, when you are out here encouraging people, those are seeds that you are planting. But this oak tree started as a seed that grew. Hey, Terry, that
Very.
grew. It's huge, but this one tree has many different purposes. And this gets back into what I was talking about earlier. We have common purpose, but then we each have a assignment that works towards those purposes that God has asked for us. But this oak tree, not only is it a tree, but it's a shelter. It's a shelter. There in storms, you'll notice sometimes we have this cat that's in our neighborhood. It comes and it hides up under this tree. It's a shelter for some. It's a home for others. The birds come and they live in this tree. It's a source of food for some. The squirrels that are in my neighborhood, their acorns fall from off this tree. So this tree is now providing food for the squirrel, right? And then when we think about the leaves that's on the tree, in the fall, they fall down and onto the soil, but then now that the decomposed leaves act as fertilizer for the soil, which now is picked up and dropped everywhere from different animals and people, right? So it's spreading. And so just like that soil spreads, right? The fulfillment of your dream now spreads. It touches so many other people. And so I
Yes.
love that scripture when it talks about a dream fulfilled now being a tree of life, because it's bigger than you. So if you keep that in mind, understanding that your dream is bigger than you, then that will keep you motivated to see that thing come to pass. And understanding that completing and seeing these God-given dreams come to fruition is not necessarily going to be easy. You're not going to always want to make the sacrifices that will be required in order to see these dreams come to pass. And those sacrifices can be money. It may mean that you need to eliminate some people from your circle. It may mean that you need to spend a little bit of money to invest in your own personal growth. It could mean a bunch of different things for you. But I can guarantee you without a shadow of a doubt that those sacrifices, though they may temporarily inconvenience you, will serve a greater purpose bigger than you can ever imagine. And never, ever, ever downplay your dream and to feel like your dream is more insignificant or is more significant than someone else's. No matter how big or small your dream is, your dream, those God-given dreams, they matter. and them
Yes.
coming to be fulfilled, it matters because it's a tree of life for so many other people.
Yes.
Courtney, I have enjoyed having you on. We have to do this again.
Yes. We really do.
See,
This
this
was
is
so
why
fun.
the enemy didn't want me to be able to add you on earlier.
Exactly.
This
Yes.
is why.
Y'all, we struggled getting on here, but here we
But it
are.
was worth it. Ooh,
It
it
was
was
worth it.
worth it.
Absolutely.
Us sitting there continuing to try to figure out how to get you on, it was worth it. So anyway,
Yes.
you all, I love you all. I am rooting for you continuously. This week I'm going to be at the beach, so I'm going on a vacation. So our weekly chat that we normally have on Friday and Sunday, I probably won't be able to have this week. So we will be picking up with those weekly chats next week. And I think next week I'm going to throw in a surprise live. And then starting that week after, we're going to talk about purpose. We're going to start talking about the key things on how you identify your purpose. Where do you start? We're going to talk about those things. Even if you are not Christian, you're going to want to tune in to learn to hear what I have to say because I have some things. I'm rooting for you, Courtney. I love you. We'll talk soon.
Love you too. All right. Keep evolving on your unique by design journey,
Yes.
everybody. Have a good night.
Tell them the site, uniquebydesign.com.
Uniquebydesign.com.
And Courtney
That's
has
right.
a blog too. I'll post a link to her blog in the comments. Okay.
Yes.
Bye.
All right. Love you. Bye. Good night.
Good night.